everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts, and today I'm going to be showing you my last pop-up box tutorial. Today's video is going to be the Shadow Box Slimline. So here is the die. I'm also going to be using my Slimline gift card holder add-on, my everyday Slimline borders, and my lacy Slimline borders. And then for the stamp sets, I will be using Candlelight Points. Oh no. I actually will not use Candlelight Poinsettia today, but I am going to use Christmas Market, Cardinal Blessings, and then I will pull in a couple images from German Winter Village. So for my first card, I'm going to focus on the Cardinal Blessings 6x6 stamp set, and I'm going to pull in a bunch of the images from the stamp set. I think I used every image, including the 5 cardinals, the birdhouse, and the mailbox. So here are all of my images, die cut and colored with my Copic markers. I stamped all of them out with VersaFine Onyx Black ink and clear heat embossed them. If you want to use VersaFine, you're going to have to clear heat emboss if you're using your Copics, otherwise you will smudge the ink because it is not an alcohol-friendly ink. I decided to leave out the coloring because I want the focus of this video to be on the Shadow Box tutorial, so I did a bunch of die cutting off camera using my Slimline Shadow Box die. So I cut 2 panels from the base itself, and from one of the 2 panels I cut a window from the front. And you're going to want to cut the window from the large rectangle area between the 2 score lines, and I decided to cut the window from the smallest rectangle die that's included in the set, and then I created the frame using that same smallest rectangle with the largest rectangle to give me a 1/2 inch gold frame to go around my shadow box. I also die cut some of the decorative panels in the die set with some red plaid pattern paper, and those are what I will use to decorate the box. So for the front, with the window panel, I'm going to attach my gold frame. And because I used the smallest rectangle die and the largest one, I am left with a 1/2 inch gold frame border for my shadow box. For these pattern paper panels, I will just attach them down with my ATG tape. I added 2 of those smaller rectangles, and then for the panel without the window, I'm going to attach that large plaid pattern paper, and that is going to be the back of my box. So here I'm trying to figure out if I want to have that same plaid paper as the background for my shadow box, but I ended up going with this gray snowflake paper. So on the opposite side of the plaid panel, I'm going to glue down this gray pattern paper. And this is what you're going to be seeing inside the shadow box. I'm going to be covering most of it up with my everyday border die set, but you do see some of it peeking through at the top. So I'm going to reinforce those score lines. There's only 3 score lines, and I like to bend downwards. So it's a very easy scoring here. There's not any complex measurements. Before I attach my box, I wanted to add acetate behind this window. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I love adding acetate to my cards, and the shadow boxes are really fun because it sort of ends up looking like a little gift box when it's all done when you add the acetate. And I actually use overhead transparencies. This is not technically acetate. It's a little bit thinner than acetate, but it works great for window cards and shaker cards, and it's much more inexpensive than acetate. So I will have it linked down below in case you were wondering. So at the end of each panel, there is a 1/2 inch tab, and that's where you're going to add your double-sided tape. So I removed the backing on the tape on the tabs, and to attach the box together, you're going to take the window panel and attach it to your back panel by gluing the tab on the opposite end of the back panel where there is not a tab. So on the back panel, there is now an open tab, which you would use to attach the front together to create the box shape. So I know that was fast. I will show a second example of that, but the die is very easy. It's literally just scoring the score lines and attaching it together with tape. So to decorate this box, I wanted to use my lacy borders. So I am using one of the lace borders, which I cut from white cardstock, and then I cut the outline piece from some gold foil cardstock. So included in the die set are 2 lace pieces and then 2 outline pieces. So you have the option to leave the lace open or you can add another paper behind to close it off and create a two-toned effect. So here's how it looks when you layer it behind the gold. Really pretty, and it adds some nice elegance to your box cards. And you can use these borders on flat cards as well, because I did design them to be 8 3/4 inches long. Here you can see they're too long for the shadow box. So what I did was I trimmed it down to 8 inches, and then I scored each end at 1/2 inch to create my own bridge. So that's what I did here. I'm going to add double-sided tape to those 1/2 inch tabs, and this can now be added inside the shadow box. I did design both my everyday borders and lace borders to be longer so that you can use them on your regular flat slimline cards. So if you want to use them in the shadow box, you will have to trim them down to 8 inches and score them at 1/2 inch on each side. And if you want to use them in the slimline pop-up box, you just have to trim them down to 7 inches to fit inside that box. So here is the completed box. I added a snow hill in front of the lace border, and I used the regular bridge that comes with the shadow box for that. And then I added another bridge to the back of the lace, which again, this bridge is included in the Slimline shadow box die set, and the score lines are already made for you with those bridges. So now I'm going to take all of my images from Cardinal Blessings and lay them out onto this shadow box. So I wanted to have the mailbox on the outside of the box, and then I wanted my cardinals to be inside. So I just laid them all out on the different slopes. And now I'm just going to attach everything together with my art glitter glue. I had already laid out all my images, so I was committed to use my 3-in-1 because I did not think I wanted to move anything. But if you want to be more cautious, I guess, if you think you're going to move your images around, I would suggest using 3-in-1 because it is not a fast drying glue. It takes a while for it to completely adhere down. But I was pretty happy with this layout, so I'm going to use my art glitter glue because it is a nice strong glue. I added some presents to the right side of my box, and then I stamped out Christmas blessings with black VersaFine Onyx black ink on some white cardstock, and I cut it out with a stitch banner die, and I added that to the top of the box. And then to adhere these cardinals, I'm only adding glue to the areas where they're overlapping those bridges. So for that cardinal, I didn't add any glue behind its head because if I did, its head will stick to that lace border behind the snow border that I added it on top of, so it's just not going to open properly. So make sure you're only adding glue to the areas that are touching those bridges. So in the case of these cardinals, it's all pretty much their bottom wing and their feet. So this cardinal looks like it's being completely covered by the mailbox, but it actually isn't. I think it's just the angle that the box is currently in makes it look like that. But if you were looking at it frontal, like holding it straight in front of your face, you would see that that standing cardinal behind the mailbox is peeking through. So when you assemble these boxes, you're definitely going to want to look at it in different angles. See here, you can see when I tilt it up, you can see it from under that mailbox. So here is how the box folds flat. You're going to want to make sure that those bridges are nice and folded down. So that way your card can fold flat into a number 10 size business envelope. So for this card, I wanted to add a gift card holder on the back, so I used my Slimline gift card holder add-on for that. And it cuts the score lines for you, so you know where to add your double-sided tape on those tabs, and then you just fold them downwards, and then it fits perfectly on the back of the shadow box as well as the Slimline pop-up box. They're actually the same dimensions, so you can use them on both boxes. If you're wondering the size of this when it's folded flat, it is 9 inches across by 4 inches tall, and when it is folded upright, it is 7 inches across by 4 inches tall. So to decorate the gift card holder, I had a couple more presents and envelopes that I had left over, so I just glued those on top. And then that is going to finish off that card. You can also add a note card to the back, which is what I did here. I plan on writing a message and then also adding in a gift card like that. So that's a great way to hide a little message for your recipient in case you decorated your box with really busy pattern paper. So now we're going to create another shadow box. So I did the exact same thing. I cut 2 panels from the card base die, and for one of those panels I cut a rectangular window, and this is the second to largest rectangle from the die set, and that leaves you with a 1/2 inch border all around. And then I also die cut some blue pattern paper, which I'm going to attach to the other panel. And this rectangle is also going to give me a 1/2 inch border all around. There is a rectangle to give you a 1/4 inch border if you would prefer that. There's a lot of different options included in the shadow box to create your windows and to decorate your box. And there's also a decorative die, which leaves you with a pretty flourish shape as your window. And I do have a couple examples of those on my Instagram if you want to check that out. So just like I did with the last card, I'm going to add acetate behind the window. Now, if you want your life to be easier when you are assembling your box, you might want to add your acetate at the very end, but I've made quite a few of these already, so I was pretty confident with adding the acetate before adding or attaching my shadow box together. So I'm going to decorate the side piece with some more pattern paper on both panels, and then I want the inside of my shadow box to have some pattern paper peeking through too, so I did add another rectangle on the opposite side of this panel. And now I'm going to add double-sided tape to both of the tabs. And to assemble the box together, I'm going to remove the double-sided tape on both pieces. And then I think I'm going to start with my back panel this time. So I'm taking the back panel with the tab and I'm gluing it onto my window panel that's on the side without the tab. And then you're left with the side with the tab, which you're going to just attach on the opposite end of the back panel that does not have a tab. So it's pretty easy to assemble as long as you remember that the tabs are glued on the opposite panel without the side that has a tab. So I'm going to be creating some more bridges. And this time I cut 3 snow hills from my everyday border die set, and like I said, they're 8 3/4 inches long, so I'm going to trim them down to 8 inches and then score them on each end at 1/2 inch to create my own custom bridge. The die set does include a bridge that is sloped, so you can use that if you want to, but they're a little bit shorter and I want my hills to be taller. So that is why I use my everyday border die set instead. And these snow hills are also cutting a pierced edge at the top, so it looks a little bit more decorative. So right now I'm just adding my double-sided tape to the 1/2 inch tabs that I just added, and that is how these are going to be attached inside the shadow box. So I'm going to start at the bottom of the shadow box with this slope, and you're going to have to kind of finagle it until it's fit nicely in there. And then once you have it, you're going to want to make sure to reinforce those score lines just so that the box will fold completely flat. So now I'm going to work on my middle snow hill, and I'm going to attach it higher up, but I'm going to push this snow hill further back within the shadow box. And that is what's going to give you that really cool depth that you typically see in shadow boxes. So I don't think I add a 3rd snow hill. I think I just stick with 2. I like to use either 2 or 3 bridges in the shadow box. So I wanted to add a fence to the very front of the card right behind the acetate. So I'm going to attach my glue to the bottom of the fence where it's going to attach onto the card base. I'm trying to hide it so that you don't see the glue behind the acetate. So if you attach the fence right to the bottom of the box where that frame is, you will be able to do that. And that just creates another layer of depth. And I cut that fence from my everyday border die set from craft cardstock. I trimmed it down to 8 inches or 7 inches. and just glued that in. So all of these images that I just showed you are from Christmas Market, and there are a couple people from the German Winter Village stamp set, just because it would not be a Christmas market without a couple people walking around. And I actually think I only used the couple for this card. So I'm taking the Ferris wheel and the carousel. If you've ever been to Germany or really any Christmas market, they tend to be around carnivals. So that is why I included the Ferris wheel and the carousel. And in the Christmas market stamp set, there are also 3 little booths, and they're in the traditional German style. So they're wooden booths, or log booths, I guess. So I colored them in with my brown Copic markers, and I'm just arranging them into the shadow box. You can see I added 2 to the back snow hill and then 1 on the front snow hill, and I plan on gluing the carousel right behind the fence. So I'm holding that down with my fingers as I attach, or I guess lay out my card here. I even added some trees to the back of the card base, so that's going to add a 4th layer of depth. So you can really get creative with these boxes. And I think out of all 3 boxes, I am partial to the A7 because they're basically what got me into card making, but the shadow boxes are so fun because not only do you get the real estate with 7 inches across, but you also get about 3.5 inches in height. So you can really pack in a lot of images in this box. And I just love how this Christmas market turned out. So again, I am only attaching glue to the areas where the stamped images are going to adhere. So on the bottoms of them. For the carousel, I only added glue where it's going to overlap the fence. Same with this little couple here, so they are still behind the acetate. There's actually nothing that's going to be outside of the box like I did with my first card. I wanted everything to be contained inside the box, so even that little tree and the lamppost I will glue inside. And I love how this ended up looking almost like a little gift box, and it would be super pretty just as decor during the holidays on your desk or on a little end table. It is like a little piece of art, and I love that it does fold flat for mailing. Whoever gets this card will be super happy and will definitely see all the work that you put into it. And you can create all kinds of scenes. I designed all of my boxes to work year-round, so if you check out my Instagram, I do have even more inspiration for every holiday of the year. So that is going to complete my shadow box. Before I leave, I want to mention that this is a part of a giveaway. So if you want to win a $15 gift card to the Scrappy Tales website, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below, and you could potentially purchase one of these stamp sets or the shadow box. So thanks again for watching. If you haven't yet already, please subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.